Hello everyone, welcome back to Diving Diep with Alan. Today in part 3 we are talking about friends. So friends is one of those weird things where we say friends, but how do we define a friend? What makes a friend? And for this episode we're just diving a bit more on the concept of friends, our views on friends, as well as how it has changed over the years and how much of an impact our friend has made, especially for me, on how I see the world and how I perceive the world. Because looking generally, we interact, we talk, we cross over, we meet lots of people, whether that would be in real life, whether it be at work, school, uni, in a professional career environment, and then moving on to like social, sports, groups, maybe friends of friends. But how do we define a friend? And what impact can not one friend, but can a friend make for us? And how much of a difference can they make on our lives and our perspectives? Because I think generally, friends, they're just there, we talk, we chat. But they give us so much in terms of how they support us, how they give us advice. And so for today's episode, we're just going to dive a bit deeper on friends. So I'm just going to put this out there as an opening word. Do not ask me for advice on how to make friends. That is not my strength. It was never my strength. I don't know if that will be ever a strength of mine. But I have some friends and I'm grateful to have them around because I don't know where I'd be without them. They give me so much and I'm so thankful with the people I've met and the people that I've interacted with and has given me that support. They're very, very important people. Maybe compared to our parents, they're not as important, but they play different roles. So I can't say that they're not important, but they're important in a different context. So our parents, very, very important in terms of those early years of development, in terms of giving us our environmental support, in terms of food, housing, giving us that perspective, that culture, and drumming in those traditions you have. Whereas friends is more for presence. When I say presence, I mean like present day or like within society. Because your parents and family can only do so much. And friends is probably another important aspect on giving us that perspective. So, for example, for me, having friends across the board in terms of from different areas, different backgrounds, really helps me get a different perspective on what I see, what I perceive, and how I see the world effectively in very, very broad terms. I'm not going to single anyone's name out because I feel like it's unfair and it's wrong. Let's say talking to someone who grew up in the northwest of Sydney and asking them about their lives, their perspectives. Even though we're both from a Southeast Asian, East Asian background, we both were born and raised here. We both have, we both speak a second language at home, and we speak it fairly competently. But our upbringing was so different, and how they see the world and their perspective on things are so different. Even though I've crossed paths with them in uni, but I can see that they have a very, very different perspective on things and how they interact, how they talk, how they how do I say this? How they see the world is obvious, but just these little actions, these little thoughts, it's very different. But in the end of the day, despite those differences, they've given me that energy and that support when I need it. And I think that is so crucial. Because in the end of the day, as animals, we are social beings, right? And friends are our social connections that are required, not just for fun, but for survival, right? We can and we are able to live alone and survive on our own. However, having those social connections really, really help. Because even in animals, they experience loneliness and they do experience those depressive symptoms. Why? I'm obviously talking about social, in terms of that social connection, but it is very important, not just on a societal human level, but just bringing it back down to just talking about animals. And so the role of friends or social connection play is immense in our growth and development as individuals, especially in a society now. Even though we are connected, we have phones, laptops, tablets, iPads, etc., 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 we're probably at a stage where that social connection, those intimate relations, and I'm not talking about like physical intimate relations, I'm talking about those friendships that you build over time and they grow. It's being hampered despite the fact that we are so connected with the internet. It's really weird, but I guess that's something we got to deal with moving forward in this current generation and the generations to come. How do we build that social connection with all the advancements around us? And I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole that's beyond friends, but it's important to consider and keep in mind because, yeah, it's great to have friends who live 25, 30 kilometers away, but there's no joy in talking or messaging them online. I think the best fun, the best joy is when you get to see them, you get to talk to them, you get to chat, you get to like poke fun at them. Like that's the connection, and then that's what's important with those social connections with friends, and it's something to consider moving forward. But I think that's enough on that point. We just go for a break, and we'll come back. We'll talk about my feelings on friends and how it has changed over the years. What a lovely break. Jeez. So now, well, friends, past and present, I guess. In the past, especially when we were younger, because we went to school, you spent so much time with people. And whether or not that was a good thing or bad thing, that's up for debate. But I think my perspective of that time was my expectation of friends was you gotta have fun, right? Everything's about fun, everything's about enjoying yourself. And from that, you just wanted to do everything with those people. But then it's obvious, looking back, that it was quite difficult. Especially when you're just like shunted in a classroom with like 15 other people, 30 other people, and everyone has their own likes and interests, and it's kind of hard to just have fun with those people because everyone has their own different energy. And so it's probably how I saw friends and just fun. But now, being at the age I am, through the experiences I experienced, I guess friends symbolize, or for me, they symbolize a source of energy. They are a support, a shoulder, especially when you're down. And I feel like the friends I have, or the friends that I am keeping or have around me, give me that sense of comfort and belonging. One of the things I probably will not regret, but I look back with a bit of regret would be the fact that I didn't get to see them as often as I wished I could. Especially looking around, everyone's in their little path, everyone's on their roads, and it's kind of difficult to do something together, whether it would be, I don't know, a lunch day or dinner, or just chilling without responsibility. and stress. Like, you can't do that. We're just not at that age anymore. And I feel like that's something I want to do more. But it's also important to understand that everyone has responsibilities, whether it be to family, partners, children, depending on where they are in their lives, cousins, etc. And so that's probably how I see friends now. Like, I don't get to catch up with them often. Some people, I only get to see them once every couple of months. And if I'm lucky, once a month, that would be a lot. If I get to see someone 12 times a year, that would be a great year. And I feel like that's sad and quite disappointing to think about. But it's probably important to remind myself that I'm not the only one that experiences this. But I really hope, especially with those around me, that we get to catch up more often. I'm not blaming anyone. That's the situation. You know, right now, going on placement 5 days a week, like, time is not my friend. And other people going on placement as well, or they're working full-time jobs, or pushing into working full-time jobs because they're on their break. So it's just so difficult to catch up. And it's then they have other friends, and I've got my friends, and suddenly there's just so many schedules, timelines to just put together and align it. But that's the nature of things. But like, going back to it, I am really, really thankful. Again, I know I said this already, but the friends that I do have, those who look out for me or who's there to listen to me, especially when I'm down, I can't thank them enough. I feel like I'm at a stage where you only talk to someone if I'm sad. And I feel like that's something I can improve on massively. Sometimes I just need to catch up. Like a little message saying, oh, hey, it's been a while. Hope you're doing fine. I hope, or whatever. Or maybe like I'm starting a new job, I can just check up on that, or just spontaneously like, hey, it's been a while. I'm thinking about you. Hope you're doing fine. I think that's something I can do more. And I'm not really forcing myself to. I do think sometimes they just spontaneously pop into my head, and I should act on that. But yeah, friends now is that support, and I think you really know people, obviously through time, but then it's how they deal with certain situations in life, and so especially those who've been through a lot, who have experienced things. They really have great advice. And sometimes I feel like some friends, they don't give great advice, but I know they're listening and they're trying their best to help me through in whatever situation I'm presenting to them, or just want to have fun, and they know. And I'm grateful that I have those people, because yeah, you really, really understand the value of friends once you've gone through a period where you're struggling to trust people, and then now to have that trust, to have that understanding of that relationship, of that connection, it's really, really difficult not to be grateful because of experiencing that low. And so yeah, I know it sounds like I'm depressed, but it's not. That's the nature of things, and we tend to just remember the sad things as humans, as animals in general. We tend to just remember the things that made us feel frightened, scared, and so that's probably when we need to speak up. But in terms of my friends and how I'm talking and treating them, maybe I should share the great good moments as well, because without them, I don't know where I'd be. And I hope that I've made an impact, a positive impact on them, however small that is. Yeah, that's my hope for my friends. Because to be honest, whatever happens, I am, I hope that my friends receive the best everything, best care, meet the best people, have the best houses, best everything. Because those people are amazing, and I've looking back, looking through my friend, like especially the close people around me, I've met them through so many different avenues. You know, one or two through high school, no one really from primary school. Blah. Um, a couple from farm, back in my farm days. Those are the people I probably keep with me dearest. Because in back then, it was tough. And then obviously a couple in physio as well, and then looking back, those people have seen me progress through different phases and through different times of my life. Because at each phase, I feel like I'm not saying I've changed, but more so, I've have different challenges present to me, and I've had to face those challenges differently. And yeah, and so to have people to have been there at different phases and have come through with me even now, I'm really, really, really happy, and I hope that it continues and we continue through the next phases, through the springs, through the winters, through the autumns, through the summers of our lives together, beyond uni. Because that's another issue, right? Because our times, our friends and our friend circles or connections can be quite compartmentalized. Because, uni friends, or like I'm friends with individuals more per se than groups, or having groups of friends. Like everyone's so different, and not sometimes, it's just difficult to get all my favorite people all together because everyone's so different. But I guess looking back at that, that's probably a reflection of me as a person, right? And these friends represent different facets of me, and they represent the different phases of me. Not really representative phases of me, or they've seen me through the different phases. But yeah, maybe I won't get an opportunity beyond something big. Because by the looks of it, I think the only time I'll get all my favorite people into one big room might be like my 30th birthday, or like a graduation party, question mark. I don't think I'll do a graduation party. I'm too poor. Maybe big 30, or maybe wedding, who knows? But yeah, that's probably I wouldn't say a goal, but that's something I really, really dream and I really hope come to fruition someday. That's that's one of the things I need to write down. Bucket list, or like things I hope to happen in my life. That's gotta be one of them, one of the big ones on there. Beyond traveling. Traveling, yeah, everyone travels, everyone experiences life, but that's probably something I really want. Personally, that's what I really want. Yeah. But, moving on. So, how have my friends affected how I see the world? Well, as I said before, we all different people, we're all different individuals, right? And so how they perceive the world, how I perceive the world, and how we mesh it together, that is a different perception of the world. So, for example, in terms of finances and money, um, me and my parents being in Cabramatta, where we are, money isn't something that's thrown around a lot. Like if you compare that to the Northwest, because just in Cabramatta we're not the most educated, our schools aren't the most prestigious, so we obviously will see that increased growth, like we'll see more students from the area moving into high incomes as we're progressing through the generations, as we're getting more and more opportunities through education, and through more opportunities in terms of career, because our parents, my parents struggle. Like, only my dad got a uni degree, whereas my mom didn't get the opportunity to. And with time and with those opportunities, we'll see that growth. But when I compare myself to someone else who, I don't know, when they went to selective high school, or they went to that private school, and you can see that we all have very, very different views on life. And my friends and those friends, they give me a different perspective on how I see things and how their world, even though it's still in Sydney, can be so different. Because I went to my public local high school. Like we, in our class, you have one person go to uni, and maybe someone else might end up in, I don't know, jail. Like you don't know the spectrum of people, and so they really, really give me a perspective on life, on a different perspective on life. But also, they really give me a different perspective on how I perceive things. That's not normal as you interact with people, but the people, I feel like my friends around me, they tend to be a more calmer and level-headed person, or more level-headed set of people than I am. I tend to be quite catastrophizing and always thinking the worst. And I feel like they remind me of a different avenue or a different way of thinking. And they allow me to not, they remind me not to put pressure on myself and not to think of the worst case scenario, because it's probably not the best way to think. Because if you think about it, you are your environment, right? And your environment is reflective of you. And so obviously my friends, they really, really influence me, and they influence me on how I live, eat, drink, and how I enjoy things, because some of them are into cars, others less so, others maybe, enjoy sports a bit more. And I feel like those interests that they have, maybe not cars, that's a bad example, but they are reflective of what I like and what I'm into. So maybe badminton, for example, maybe chilling. It's weird to admit, but like in my friend circle, no one's a big drinker. Yeah, they're like really anti-drinking, strangely enough. Like the guys are anti-drinkers. Like the guys are like, no, I can't deal with it. One of my friends, he's like, alcohol bad, do not touch. That's the level over there. And I share that same view in terms of alcohol, but we don't have the same reasoning process to get to that same endpoint of alcohol bad. For me, it's because I don't think alcohol is good. Because I remember when I was like 8, 9, 10, 11, and that time we had like lots of school holiday crashes with PE platers, and the cause of it was alcohol, and that probably influenced how I perceive alcohol. But also looking back at it now, I did go, Yadenbrook at that time, and so one of the precepts was no alcohol or intoxicating substances, and maybe I did take that rule quite heavily, but it hasn't hurt me. Like I haven't died or nothing's gone terribly wrong with that. And so yeah, it's just quite interesting to just put everything together, put everything into perspective, and friends allow me to do so. And yeah, because I look through the people I interact with, very, very different people. One guy is like whatever, like he will drink 8 cups of gongcha and like that's his day. Another person would be very disciplined, wakes up at 5:30, goes gym, has a partner, drives, has 2.5 jobs, goes uni, does quite well. And I have another friend who doesn't respond when you text that person, but even with those differences and how they are, I feel like they all play an important role in my life right now, because their presence around me, or their presence in general, I guess, really, really gives me an inspiration, a model, right? Whether that model is how to live in a more relaxed way. You know, one of my friends is really, really relaxed and chill. Another friend is how do I become aware and how do I become conscious of my surroundings, physical surroundings. Another friend will teach me how to relax, how to enjoy the moment, how to absorb things in a manner that doesn't harm me mentally. Another friend, we just chill, we just talk. Like that's our relationship. Other friends teach me discipline. I feel like everyone has something that I can take on board as a person. And I hope that I'm able to share what I can do. And I hope that they've taken something from me positively as well. And and I hope, because I've learned so much from them, probably without them knowing that I've picked it up. And so I hope that in reverse, I've made maybe not the same impact, but just made an impact on them. And I hope that I've given to them. Because genuinely, I look back, I don't know how I'm gonna repay these people. Like they're amazing people. I swear, I'm pretty sure most of my friends have partners. And Jesus Christ, they manage their time so well, and they are lovely people. And sometimes I feel like I don't know where I am in my life, and I don't feel that lovely myself sometimes. But that's another issue. But yeah, so just a closing note on friends. Very important people, yes. It's important to have good friends, yes. But also, it's important to give and take, because there's no like are they really your friend if all they're doing is taking from you? No. Are they really a good friend if they're not warm and comforting and they provide you a sense of security? And I don't mean that in a way where like, oh, you feel secure, safe, and it's like a secure attachment. It's more like with their presence you feel as though they have your back. Like that's probably a sign that that person is playing a major role in your life. And I don't mean that in like, oh, dating major role. I mean that in like a friend major role. Yeah. And it's it's probably a good reminder that I should go on more friend dates. As a guy, it sounds a bit weird, but what's wrong? I don't see anything wrong with that. Like you're just catching up, whether it would be to play badminton for bingsu or, you know, just for a night chilling. It's important to have those moments, because when you look back in 5, 10, 20 years time, you're not going to remember the time where you were sad. Those memories will be those highlights where, I don't know, I went to Luna Park and like I vomited out nothing, even though I vomited out everything, even though I had nothing in my stomach. Like, those will be the memories you look back on and you smile and you grin. And so I will say this is probably my thank you message to my friends and to people who have taken me in. Because I look back, I am flawed. Very flawed. Probably at times I feel like I'm too flawed for a human. But that's me. And so I'm really grateful that those people have taken me in and has decided that we can grow together. And I'm grateful that I've given them an opportunity to do so, but B, I've taken them in as well, and they've supported me and I've supported them. I'm grateful for that, and I'm really, really thankful that despite my pitfalls, despite my limitations, they have been patient and have guided me through my struggles. And I hope that only the best things and the positive things happen to them. Even though that's probably stretching it. Like we're all gonna have our down days, but I really hope that even with those down days, I want to remind them that everyone, guys, those down days will end. A new day will dawn, and something positive will happen to you. Just stay put, have faith, and it will all be okay. So that wraps up part 3 with Diep with Alan, and I'll see you in the next episode.